Mothman. Mothman. There's no need.
You might be thinking, how do we decide what cryptid plush matches my personality? You might also be thinking, I've never seen you in my life, what the heck are you talking about? Let's get there. This is Deerman. He's very aesthetic driven. You either vibe with it or you don't. It does require offerings to be able to get close to him, so keep that in mind, otherwise you will become the offering. Now for a complete 180, enter Squonk. Arguably the most relatable cryptid of them all, is a 10 out of 10 cuddle buddy, cannot hype him up enough, and will feel all of your feelings. Now, Mothboy's pretty elusive, but he's predictable. Known to be destructive, but I don't think it's intentional. And finally, we have this cheeky boy, Nightcrawler. Loves the outdoors, but hates the sun. If you want a midnight stroll buddy, he's your guy. Otherwise, his comfort zone is the closet, so let's just put him in there.
Some people draw from a deep place of sadness, and others draw from a deep place of horniness. I draw exclusively characters that I would allow to step on me.
Red flags to look for when buying oddities online. Prices that are much cheaper than other sellers. Sellers that have large amounts of one or more species. Exotic species, especially sold in bulk. Bulk listings for species that aren't a byproduct of the food industry. A seller who claims they are ethical but won't answer questions. Bats. Taxidermy bats are never ethical.
Two hearts that beat as one. Two of hearts. I need you, I need you. Two of hearts.
The summer of 1989 was the best one of my life. I went to camp and made some of my closest friends. Appropriately, we called ourselves the Cryptidcore.
I saw something sitting on your bed. I saw something touching your head. Where you sleep in the room, where you sleep, where you sleep.
You ever wanted to dress like school just let out and a local millionaire just offered $2 million for proof of Bigfoot? Me too. Let's talk Cryptidcore. Because I like to introduce a kind of utility into our outfits when it comes to Cryptidcore, I'm just going with any kind of graphic tee and pants that are going to allow you to move. I usually go for darker earth tone colors that have a lot of room in them, like these green corduroys, maybe some cargo shorts, some cargo pants, some ripped jeans that have some movement in them, and stuff like that. What sets Cryptidcore apart from all the other very grungy aesthetics out there, though, are the details, right? It could be a knife strapped to your belt to defend you in case of whatever you may find in the woods, right? Or it could be a journal where you track your progress in finding whatever creature that you're looking for. And it's in these details that separate Cryptidcore from all the other things that look like it. To complete the look, I like to add things like a key ring or a wallet chain, a sturdy bag or a satchel bag. And it's in these details where you separate a very grungy looking outfit from a Cryptidcore outfit. Yeah. So you'll see in a lot of my videos that I'll pair a lot of my outfits with a pair of sturdy boots or a pair of dirty Converses, and I'm doing the exact same thing with this Cryptidcore look. And so my finished Cryptidcore look is going to look something like this. Of course you can switch out layers or have no other layers, or just keep the graphic tee and pants combo, or introduce shorts to the mix. Either way, play around with it. That's about all I've got for a Cryptidcore look. Happy cryptid hunting.
Cryptidcore. Cryptidcore is an aesthetic that gained traction in the early 2010s, but was inspired by an upsurge in speculative horror back in the 70s. Sasquatch, aliens, Mothman, and other scientifically challenged creatures heralded in a generation of amateur investigators who were interested in the adventure of discovering and uncovering new things about the world. Usually this aesthetic revolves around mood boards that give off the vibes of being a character in your favorite spooky-adjacent media. Scooby-Doo, The X-Files, Twin Peaks, Gravity Falls, and Supernatural were all huge inspirations to Cryptidcore. This is honestly one of my very favorite aesthetics. I've always been obsessed with cryptids and grew up watching the Scooby-Doo movies that were about cryptids across the world. I think the Loch Ness Monster movie was my favorite, but I also really loved the Alien Invaders movie. Side note, I've always wanted to go to Roswell. Flannels, earth tones, hiking boots, blurry Polaroid pictures of unidentified creatures, and dinky little tourist trap souvenirs. All these things are common sights in Cryptidcore. Basically, imagine a stereotypical outfit for going on a hike in Oregon, and there you go. I haven't really talked about this in my other videos, but I wanted to at least mention that there is a genre of music that people consider Cryptidcore, and you can find playlists all over YouTube. I'm not sure I could nail it down exactly, but if I had to, I'd describe it as whimsical indie music with folksy elements. Glass Animals is a really good example of this, in my opinion. Like all good things, Cryptidcore originated from a post on Tumblr. Kitschy t-shirts and keychains from souvenir shops depicting the local urban legends and monsters, glow-in-the-dark stuff and generic alien-themed stuff. Tinfoil hats. Muffled X-Files, Gravity Falls, and Twilight Zone theme songs playing in the distance. Staring into the night sky and wondering if we're alone. Lots of pictures of the woods and abandoned houses. This aesthetic really is a favorite of mine because of how much I love cryptids. Early followers will remember when I made more videos about cryptids, and honestly I would really like to go back to make more. I've been to Point Pleasant and hung out with the Mothman, and there's a Bigfoot festival I love going to as well every year. Would you watch videos that I made about cryptids? Have you ever seen a cryptid? Or a ghost or an alien? What do you think of this aesthetic? Let me know in the comments.
Have you ever heard of it? Not the clown, but it in Rhode Island's Dark Swamp. Dark Swamp is in Gloucester, Rhode Island, and has an extensive history of local cryptids. It was an inspiration for H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space. We found a historical cemetery right off the trail, and that was a nice surprise. Legend has it that it is a foul-smelling creature with red glowing eyes and scales that look like clamshells. There have been reports of skunk apes lurking in the swamp, with sightings as recently as 2021. In addition to the swamp, we found many historical house foundations in the woods, and we even found an abandoned hunting cabin. The hunting cabin was completely decayed, but we definitely felt some intense vibes around the area. This was my favorite foundation that we found. Look at how gorgeous this is. It's a shame people are throwing trash in there. And here is the swamp where it lives. Something that we experienced while we were there was a zone of silence. So there's a zone of silence while in the dark swamp. This means there were practically no sounds, no birds, no forest sounds, only the crunch of leaves under our feet and our puppy who loves hiking. I'll play a clip of that here. We didn't find it, but Dark Swamp had very much dark vibes. What do you guys think of cryptids? I will see you later, goals.
Are you here? There's no way you're getting in that swamp.
All right, the court is now in session. We are now hearing the case of Owlman v. Mothman. Will the plaintiff please give their opening statement?
He stole my look and I'm suing for copyright infringement.
I was doing it before you was. All right, now order in the court. Now, Mr. Mothman, what is this about?
Your Honor, I claim that I am the most recognizable bipedal winged monstrosity in the cryptid world, and that guy keeps trying to hone in on my turf.
God, that's not true. I was doing it way before he was. Is that true?
Technically, yes, but I am the more recognizable monster.
Says who?
Says the photographs of my actual existence, you Euro trash.
All right, we will refrain from derogatory remarks. Thank you.
Your Honor, help me out.
Just a moment, Mr. Mothman. And actually, in regards to those photographs, you were actually wanted by the FBI and the Pleasant Point Police Department for questioning about the Silvergate Bridge incident. And he's gone, because of course he is. Did anyone get a photo of him?
We did, Your Honor, but it's very blurry.
Of course. Am I free to go? Yes, sir, you are free to go. We are now hearing the case of Wendigo v. Pop Culture.
This town, anything is possible. Ghosts, zombies, could be months before we find our first clue.
I saw something sitting on your bed. I saw something touching your head. Where you sleep in the room, where you sleep, where you sleep.
Lost hope on the East Coast, and I had lost hope on the East Coast, and I had lost hope on the East Coast, and I had lost hope on the East Coast, and maybe I'm
I'm here at the Musconetcong River underneath the Newburgh Road Bridge in Mansfield, New Jersey. Now, the reason I came here today is because this is actually one of the original spots where the Mantis Man was sighted over 10 years ago. I have been doing some researching on local forums and cryptid research sites, and one of the original people to see the Mantis Man saw the creature right here on Newburgh Road about a decade ago. So I'm gonna be camped out here under the bridge for a little while, and I'll let you all know if I see anything.
What would you do if you saw this thing walking through your backyard? Stories of unknown creatures can be found in every state, but did you know that Texas is a hotspot for cryptid activity and high strangeness? For example, some people claim there are living dinosaurs out near Big Bend National Park. They look straight out of Jurassic Park. Others have reported mysterious and terrifying flying creatures that defy explanation. And there's even accounts of massive, hairy, humanoid Bigfoot-type creatures stalking the outskirts of major cities. If you want to learn more about these creatures, check out my brand new video with the top 5 scary cryptids of Texas over on my channel. You'll find the link right here in my bio.
You don't need treats, and you don't need tricks. You don't need treats, you don't need tricks, you don't need no.
Hub, you're a cryptid investigator in the 50s.
Okay, I'm about to show you the weirdest cryptid I have ever seen. This is the Tripodero. It's part of a series of cryptids known as the Fearsome Critters, which, first of all, an amazing name, but they're actually early American folktales that have just sort of been passed down, and there is definitely some interesting ones, like, for example, the Tripodero. Let me tell you about some of its key features. As the name might suggest, the Tripodero does function quite similar to a tripod. It's got 2 extendable legs, we'll get into that later, and a tail to help balance. And I hate to tell you, but that's some of the more normal facts about the Tripodero. Now, the reason the Tripodero has these 2 extendable legs is completely normal and definitely not weird at all. It extends them so it can see above the bush, where it will then scan for its prey before beginning to shoot mud pellets at them, which it stores in its mouth.
The gumbaroo, scientifically known as the Megalogaster repercussus, is often described as a giant bear with tough, shiny black hide, complete with bristly hairs on its chin and big eyebrows. Many refer to this iron bear as resembling a walking football that could kill a man with one swipe of its paw. Many even believe that the Gumbaroo has a large appetite and could eat an entire horse in one sitting. However, others depict this cryptid as slow-moving like a sloth. The Gumbaroo, though sparse, is a cryptid that has been seen all along the Pacific coast, from Grays Harbor in Washington to Humboldt Bay in Northern California. The Gumbaroo is also said to make their dens in the bases of huge, burned-out cedar trees, spending most of its time in a state of hibernation, only leaving its lair a few times a year to search for food.
Random idea of the day. A Jurassic Park style unique wildlife preserve, but it's full of fearsome critters and other creatures from American folklore. The snallygaster doesn't want to be fed. The snallygaster wants to hunt. Or was it the snollygoster? I can never keep those two straight in my head. Yeah, so that's not actually an aquarium. That's supposed to be the Squonk exhibit. Unfortunately, the contractor we used didn't put in one-way mirror glass, just regular glass, and so folks saw the squonks saw that the other folks saw them, and started to break down into tears and dissolved. At this park, we are accommodating to all of our guests, including those with different physical needs. We simply ask that those who may have canine assistants, especially those with white coats, to stay at least 50 feet away from the Hodag exhibit. Hodags, as you may know, have a hankering for white dogs, and if they see one, it may facilitate an escape event. You may have heard it on the news, but yes, our Sidehill Gouger pair just recently had pups. Unfortunately, while the parents were right-going Sidehill Gougers, the pups ended up being left-going Sidehill Gougers, so they are currently being cared for at our veterinary facility. I do not care if the guests think it looks Gucci. Do not let them wear a ramtifusel. Last thing we need is an exsanguinated guest, and I've already got OSHA up my butt. Well, Frank, let's get through with the refresher on the Gumbaroo exhibit. What are the 2 things you should never do to the Gumbaroo? That's right, first, never shoot at it because it's basically made of rubber. It will reflect bullets right back at you. And what's the other thing? That's right, never set any kind of fire near it because it will explode. And yes, this includes what you might be doing on your smoke break. That's why we have to replace the exhibit. I don't know, I just think this would be fun.
If you see a tree like this in the woods, you might be in danger. According to some, this could be caused by the destructive creature known as the splinter cat. The story goes that these felines live all over the US, and their favorite food is raccoons and bees. It's said that they use their hard head to break down trees at random, searching for a meal. The wake of its destruction looks almost like a lightning bolt exploded a tree. Sometimes they'll go as far as leveling a whole forest until they find what they're looking for. Now, this story is likely inspired by something like windstorms, but let me know what you think, and make sure to like and follow for more 40 content. Have you heard of the Sidehill Gouger? Also known as the Rickaboo Racker or Cutter Cuss, these goofy creatures are said to live throughout North America, with many sightings happening around eastern Canadian provinces like Nova Scotia. It's said that they can be found wandering along hill and mountainsides in only one direction. This is a result of their unusual body, which has longer legs on one side versus the other. Should a Sidehill Gouger run into another of its kind coming from the opposite direction, they must battle to the death, as neither of them can turn around due to their strange legs. Pioneers and lumberjacks were also said to have hunted these beasts by chasing them onto flat ground, where they would then fall over, becoming an easy target for the people hunting them. Now, this might all just be silly folklore based on real animals like the mountain goat, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments and make sure to like and follow.
Today on the 1 Minute Breakdown for Unblurring the Unknown, we're going over my most recent episode, and my first entry into the Fearsome Critters. Now, if you don't know what the Fearsome Critters are, the Fearsome Critters are a collection of folklore stories and myths of the cryptid genre that originate from the early 1900s of America. Now, a lot of these legends are kind of wacky, zany, and goofy, and a lot of these animals contain very exaggerated characteristics, but that makes them pretty fun to explore and look into. Now, in this week's episode, in Fearsome Critters Part 1, we cover the hoop snake, a snake that supposedly puts its tail in its mouth and rolls at its prey at very high speeds. When it hits you with its tail, it is said to have very lethal poison that will pretty much kill you on the spot. The second fearsome critter we go into is that of the fur-bearing trout, a very goofy looking animal that perhaps is the creation of some taxidermy skills and a great sense of humor, but definitely an interesting one as well. We also covered the hide behind, a very reclusive fearsome critter said to be a Bigfoot-like animal that hides behind foliage and trees in the woods, and it is very hard to see, and it is supposedly preys on loggers in the woods of rural North America. If you want to check out this episode of Fearsome Critters 1 and the rest of my episodes, you can check me out at Unblurring the Unknown on Spotify and YouTube.